Hi, and welcome to Bible Study with Friends. Sherry and I are going to continue looking through the Songbook of God. And today we're going to be specifically in Psalm 71. And we're going to be talking about being an old Christian in the youth culture. Now, I'm not saying that Sherry is old, because she's not. But for me, and for a number of people getting into their older years as believers, and I'm thinking not necessarily spiritual maturity, but I'm also thinking physical maturity, that a lot of times, Sherry, older Christians have this tendency to feel like there's really nothing for me to do in the church because the young people don't want to hear me and they don't want to have anything to do with older people. And so they have a tendency to just come and sit on their hands. And today we're going to see an example in Psalm 71 of an old Christian and how he or she fits into the youth culture in the world today. And we'll do that when we come right back. Well, hi, and welcome back to Bible Study with Friends, where our goal is to show and grow a passion for studying God's Word. And I'm here with Sherry, as I said. Hi, Sherry.
Hey, Len.
I want to say thank you guys for sitting in. This is a real Bible study between friends. This is what it looks like. And we're inviting you to sit in. If it's a blessing, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, and give us a comment. We've been getting some great comments, and we appreciate that. Today, we're going to be talking about this idea of where do we fit as an older person in a youth culture, especially an older Christian in the youth culture of our society today. And we're going to be looking at Psalm 71 very quickly. It's a fairly long psalm, so we're going to be doing a kind of an overview of that, Sherry. And let's turn to that, starting in verse 1. There's a section in verse 1, and I want to get into this later, but this is where this whole psalm is a prayer. Everything is addressed to God. There's no lectures, there's no comments that are not addressed to God. So this is an example of an older believer who is praying. And this is a prayer for all of us. And there's some very encouraging verses. But it starts out with this idea of, "O Lord, I have taken refuge in you. I have come to you to be protected, to take a refuge. Let me never be ashamed." Now, a lot of older Christians say, I really can't talk to younger Christians because I'm going to embarrass myself and maybe even embarrass them. And I don't know if you've ever experienced that, Sherry, but I hear that a lot. That, oh, gee, what do I have to say? Because they'll think it's weird and funny and whatever. So the psalm starts out this way. And it starts out in 1, 2, and 3. Over here in the side, I just marked very quickly what this prayer is asking for. You'll see right here, he says, I've taken refuge. Don't let me be ashamed. It says, in your righteousness, deliver me. There's deliverance. There's rescue me from my situation. And be to me a rock of habitation that I might continually come. You have given a commandment to save me, for you are my rock and my fortress, down in verse 3. And that's salvation. That's a great list right off the shot of an older believer who is praying for refuge, for deliverance from shame, from just being delivered in general, and rescue and salvation. And that may really hit home to a lot of us. That makes sense, Sherry?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, I do. I seen that deliver and rescue stood out. Yeah.
And it's a great prayer, no matter what age you are. If you're having a hard time, man, Psalm 71, 1 through 3 is a little set of verses to read through. Then there's an interesting section. I call it the "You Are" section, because this is a part of the worship. We don't know who the author is, but this is a worship time where he's basically giving God glory for who God is. And you see the first one, You are my rock and my fortress. Then you are my hope. Now that word hope, what does hope mean, Sherry?
Means what you look towards.
Good. Now in today's culture, wish for. Like be saying, I hope so. That'd be saying, I have my fingers crossed. I hope that happens, but it may not. May hope. But in the Bible, the word hope means an assurity, a confidence. In fact, the word confidence is a great word to use when you come across the word hope. You are my confidence. You are who I look to, like you said, Sherry. And then right here, he repeats that and says, oh Lord, you are my confidence from my youth. So I've been a Christian a long time, and you've been my confidence for a long time. And then you are he who took me from my mother's womb. In other words, you've been with me since I was born. My praise is continually of you. You are my strong refuge. There's that word refuge again. This idea of refuge and fortress, and then refuge again. These are the great ideas of being taken care of, and being protected. And then he, in verse 8, we see this great verse in verse 8. I love this verse. My mouth is filled with your praise and with your glory all day long. Now, that means I approach life. Now, I have found this with older people, older Christians especially. When they're talking to young people, they like to talk about, in my day, things were much better. The kids in my generation were different than the kids now. We didn't play video games. We didn't do this. And we have a tendency to put off the young people we're around because we complain, and we're constantly talking about politics or health issues or whatever. But there's a formula for how to approach life in a way that's attractive to the next generation. And that is this: my mouth is filled with your praise and with your glory all day long. Want to respond to that, Sherry?
Yeah.
Have you ever met a guy that all he wants to talk about is how great God is?
Yes.
I really want to think about that in my life. And in my conversations, I don't want to get off. Titus and Timothy talks about don't be distracted by silly controversies and arguments about things and arguments about words and things like that. Don't do that. Instead of focus on the Lord. I want to approach life so that when I'm talking to somebody, they see me as having my mouth filled with the praise of God and giving him glory all day long. I've had some young people come up to us recently and say, how are you handling Bev's cancer? She's dying of cancer. How can you be so happy? And that's neat, because that tells me that the way I'm approaching life and the way she's approaching life is our mouth is full of his praise, and we give him glory all day long.
And if you're doing that, like you said, you don't have time to complain about anything.
That's right. That's right. Now, it continues on. And here's where he talks about old age. I want to make sure that you understand, I didn't get that old age out of nowhere. Here it is. And the prayer is, do not cast me off in the time of old age. In other words, don't have me be worthless. Now, I want you to look at a verse. Isaiah 46, verse 4. Flip over to Isaiah 46, verse 4.
Even to your old age, I will be the same. And even to your graying years, I will bear you.
So this is God speaking to older people. And he said, even in your old age, I'll be with you. So this prayer goes right into what God's desire is. And that is, he wants to be close to us. He wants to be ours, even in our old age. He's not interested in casting us out, and because you're worthless. Now, our society tells us that older people are not valued. We're not worth much, but we are. And God says, I'll be with you even to your old age, and I'll never cast you out. So this idea of My desire is, I don't want to be cast off in my old age. Do not forsake me when my strength fails. Now, I might physically be not able to do some things, but spiritually and emotionally, and as far as mentoring and that sort of thing, I've got a lot to say. And I want to flip down here real quick. Look at verse 12. This is, again, a great prayer. You could pray this prayer every day. Oh God, do not be far from me. Oh my God, hasten to my help. That's a great prayer any time of your life. But as a senior, this is a great prayer. I want every day to be filled, that verse up in verse 8, filled with your praise, giving you glory all day long. Be close to me. Don't be far from me, and hasten to help me in every situation. And we're going to look at this, what he's going to help with, in just a minute. Now, jumping over to verse 14. From verse 14 to verse 18 is what I really want to talk about today. And in this psalm, it really is his focus. And that is, what is your ministry in your older age? What is your ministry as an older person? And here it is. I was very encouraged in this in my life. In fact, I wrote up above there, my ministry. All right. But as for me, he's basically saying, you're going to be close to me. I'm going to go through some hard times, but you're going to be close. You're going to defend me. And I can depend upon you because I've known you for a long time. And he says, but as for me, I will hope. And there's that word, I will have confidence. I will hope continually and will praise you yet more. In other words, let's not fall into the trap, older people, of being morose, of being down about being old and say, I'm going to give up because I'm just so stinking old. Okay. Let's not. I will hope continually. I will praise you more and more. My mouth shall tell of your righteousness. This is actual ministry. I'm going to be speaking about God's righteousness. And I'm going to be speaking to people my own age, but also to people who are a lot younger than me. In verse 15, my mouth shall tell of your righteousness and of your salvation all day long, for I do not know the sum of them. So even if I've been a Christian a long time, it isn't that I know everything. It's just what I know about the Lord's salvation. I'm going to be telling people. That's going to be my ministry of life. And he says, I will come with the mighty deeds of the Lord God. I will make mention of your righteousness, yours alone. And I'm not going to talk about my own righteousness. I don't have any. But I'm going to be giving glory to the Lord and his righteousness. And that's going to be my focus. I
would much rather be sitting there talking to someone, my elder, who's praising the Lord and being joyful than sitting there gloomy and angry or just pity party all the time.
Talking about politics or talking about stuff that's not the Lord.
No joy.
Yeah. And he says, oh God, you have taught me from my youth. Yeah, I've known you for a long time, and you've taught me from back when I was a brand new Christian. I've been with you for a long time, and I shall declare your wondrous deeds. So I'm going to be talking about God's righteousness. I'm going to be talking about his salvation. I'm going to be talking about my confidence, and I'm going to be talking about his wondrous deeds in my life. Younger people are interested in our life experience if we don't couch it in negativity. If we couch it in giving God glory, it's like what you were saying, Sherry. We'll sit and talk about that. I remember when I was 19, a fairly new Christian, and we had an older businessman come. Older, he might have been 55 or 60, but I thought he was ancient. But the fact that he had been walking with the Lord for years really encouraged me as a brand new Christian. And I listened to him carefully. I'll never forget that time with him. So this idea of, I will tell of your wondrous deeds. In verse 18, even when I am old and gray, O God, do not forsake me until I declare your strength to this generation and your power to all who are to come. So he's talking about this present generation I'm going to be ministering to. I'm going to be looking for people right now that are younger than me that I want to minister to and share with. And then he says, and I'm going to be doing that for the next generation.
That's
So
awesome.
I may be dealing with young Christians in their 20s and 30s, but I might also be dealing with really young people who, maybe in the nursery or in the childcare, because I want to deal with that future generation. And people are looking for the stability of seeing, I've been a Christian 50 years, 53 years now. And I say that to people, and to especially young people, and they go, wow, that's a long time. And I've got things to share. And that's what Bible study with friends is about.
Yes.
We're in the Word together. We're just sharing our life experiences and what God's Word says, not our opinions and that sort of thing. So I love that. Don't cast me out. Don't forsake me until I'm done ministering to this generation and even the next generation. For your righteousness, O God, reaches to the heavens, you who have done great things. It ends with a great verse, 22 and 23, and we'll end here. I also praise you with a harp, even your truth, oh my God, I will sing praises to you. This is worship. And we, as older Christians, we should go to worship and show what worshiping Jesus with joy looks like.
Mm-hmm.
And not be complaining about, oh, the music's too loud, or the lights are too bright, or the drum is too much. We have a tendency to be old, grouchy, but what we should be is filling our lives for the sake of ministering to younger people, filling our lives with joy, with worship, with praise, with remembering what God has done for us, and with worship, singing from the tops of our voices. Okay?
It's very encouraging for the younger people.
That's right. In verse 24, my tongue will utter your righteousness all day long, for they are ashamed. They are humiliated who seek my hurt. And it was, if they're putting me down for being old or for being a Christian, God's going to take care of them. I'm not going to worry about it. I will utter God's righteousness. And that should encourage us as older Christians. Our place in the church should be one of involvement in the younger people. If your church has small groups, you should join a small group that's made up of younger people. I remember I joined a small group where I was 3 times older than, I was giving my testimony. I said I became a Christian in 1968. And one of the girls said, my parents weren't even born. Oh, man. And then she came later and she said, I want to thank you for coming and joining our small group, because we've been praying for somebody older to come who has life experiences to share. Now, those life experiences are not how great my era was, but my life experiences are, this is how God dealt with me over the years. And he was a refuge to me. He was my security. He was my confidence. And I give him praise for all the things he's done in my life. That makes an impact in the younger people. And so this is a challenge. You older Christians, read Psalm 71. And if you're a younger Christian, read Psalm 71 from the idea of perhaps there is an older Christian in church that would like to mentor me. Maybe do a Bible study with friends with an older Christian in church. I remember a young guy who contacted me and said, I'm just looking for somebody to teach me how to study the Bible. And I said, I'm your man. We'll meet together. And we've been doing Bible study with friends for a long time. You and I met very similarly to that, Sherry, and this idea of we want to share what we know about the Lord with younger people, this generation and the generation after that. And God has a place for us in that. So we're going to stop there. And thank you guys for being with us. I hope this has been a blessing to you. I'm going to have you comment in a second here, Sherry, but if it has been a blessing, subscribe, hit the like button, comment. I'd love to hear your comments about how you might be feeling if you're an older person, about what can you do in the church, what can you do as ministry? And if you're a younger person, how valuable do you see some older Christians being in your life. Maybe an older Christian has already been valuable in your life. I'd love to hear those comments, and I'll respond to them. Thank you so much. Sherry, you want to sum us up? What are your thoughts on Psalm 71?
My thoughts are that the more joyous you are and the more your mouth is filled with praises of the Lord, the more people younger than you, or possibly even older than you, actually want to hear what you have to say.
That's right. And we should make that a conscious thing and get up in the morning and, Lord, I want to pray that you're with me today and you help me fill my mouth with your praise and fill my mouth with your righteousness so that I can minister to this generation and the next generation. That's a great prayer of every day of our lives. And we're actually praying Psalm 71. We're going to continue our stroll through the book of Psalms with various Psalms. We're going to be doing that together, continuing next week. And we'll do that when we come back. And until then, God bless you.